Welcome back to hashtag Ask Joy. Thank you to those of you who are tuning in. I am Joy M. Hutton, your favorite trainer and business strategist, also the founder and principal consultant of Joy of Consulting. Hashtag Ask Joy is all about answering your most pressing business questions, so keep those questions coming to hello@joyofconsulting.com or send them in a message. Okay. So I talked about on a previous episode how to deal with difficult employees. Today's question from Stephanie is, how do you deal with a difficult manager? This is a tough one and something I'm very passionate about because I've had my share of horrible bosses. There is nothing more destructive in a workplace than dealing with a difficult boss. So I know we could all share our stories about horrible bosses. You might drive to work and dread going in. You might have a sick feeling in your stomach every time you walk by this person. You fear turning work into this person because they may insult you or criticize you. They have nothing positive to say. You might wake up and from a nightmare about this person. The list can go on. The fact of the matter is that a terrible boss is invasive to your mind, body, and spirit. And we need to get rid of these people. Well, or we need to just figure out a way to deal with them if we can't get rid of them. So I could go on and on, but today I'm going to share some tips with you on how to deal with these very special individuals. Because there's an old saying, people don't leave jobs, people leave managers. And that is so true. Okay, let's get started. Number one, maybe your boss doesn't know they're a bad boss. Bear with me. A hands-off manager may not realize that his or her failure to provide feedback or direction may make them a bad boss. They may think they are empowering their staff to be independent in their role, and so therefore they may not think this makes them a bad boss. A manager who provides too much direction or micromanages may feel insecure and uncertain about their own job. They may not realize his or her direction is actually insulting a competent employee. Or maybe the boss lacks training and is so overwhelmed with their job responsibilities or requirements that he can't provide support or direction for you, which this is due to a flawed recruiting system, or they may have gotten promoted because they've been at the job for a long time, and this is also flawed. But you have to try to figure out a way to deal with your boss's weaknesses and work around them. And then on the same note, know your boss's strengths and focus on those. If you know they're unorganized, for example, help them get organized. If you know that they're always late to meetings, then maybe you should kick off those meetings. There are ways to work around these strengths and weaknesses. Try to anticipate their needs. And I know that it may seem exhausting, but in order to help yourself, you may have to help out your boss a little bit. Okay, and then this bad boss may also not share your values. For example, you may feel like having a flexible work schedule where you can telework makes you more productive, where your boss feels like remote workers harm the culture of teamwork in a workplace. So if your values are not aligned with that of your boss's, then maybe you need to find another boss. Okay, next, talk to your boss. As I've said before, people don't know what the problem is unless you tell them. So tell him or her what you need from them in order to figure out what the problem is and to give them some direction and feedback on what you need to support you in your role. Focus on your needs and be specific as possible because you need to tell them exactly what you need from them. And do this in the nicest way possible, people. Telling the boss that they're a bad boss is counterproductive and will not help you achieve your goals. It won't help either of you. Okay, next, manage up. And what that means is rather than see your boss as a boss, think of them as a difficult client. One that you have to figure out how to work with them if you want to get ahead. This is only going to propel you forward, even if you'd rather not do it. But do it without them knowing you're doing it. Okay? Next, take the high road. Never let your boss's bad behavior be an excuse for your own. So you may think, well, I have a bad boss, so I'm going to start coming to work late. I'm going to slack off. I'm going to take longer lunches. And this is affecting your work performance and therefore affecting your reputation. So don't do it. Don't lose interest because of your bad boss, especially if you enjoy what you're doing. All right. Keep your mind focused on top performance or just getting the heck out of there. But you do not want to burn bridges. Next, take a stand. Now, I know I said take the high road, but if you are being bullied at work, someone is cursing at you, yelling at you, insulting you, this is unacceptable behavior, and you must deal with this, okay? If you allow this behavior to persist, you are giving this person clearance to treat you this way. Now, don't be afraid to report things to HR, but then you may be at a company so small that there is no HR department. And therefore, you just need to address this boss head on and get to the root of the problem because you should not be bullied. Okay. Ask for a transfer. If you think the problem is your boss and you think that your boss can't or won't change, well, then try to ask for a transfer to another department, especially if this is an option and you like where you work. Or it may be time to start looking for another job, unfortunately. I say two things have to be present about change. You have to have the willingness to change and you have to have the capacity to change. If either of those are not present, you can forget about it. And that's in both personal and professional relationships, okay? Finally, if all else fails, if you talk to your boss and you try playing the nice guy and nothing has worked, go to your boss's manager or, as I said before, go to HR. But understand that your current boss may not forgive you for going over their head and you may experience some retaliation, which is against HR policies. But just know that this might happen and your situation may be even more uncomfortable. But if all else fails, it's time to go somewhere else. Okay, that's all I've got today. I hope you are not experiencing a horrible boss, but if you are, I hope these tips have been helpful. Again, I am Joy M. Hutton. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys back here next Friday.